The situation of widows in Nepal is miserable. Widowhood makes them physically alive but socially dead. Widows are the most neglected and rapidly increasing category of women. The rituals of breaking bangles, having to eat plain food, restricted from participating in any auspicious function, restricted mobility, deprivation from getting share of husband's property, and abject poverty make their life pitiable and desperate. Early marriage practices and the recent conflict have further intensified the plight, especially those of young widows, making them vulnerable to exploitation and trafficking. Women for Human Rights Single Women Group WHR, a non-profit organization, was established in 1994 with the vision to create non-discriminatory and equitable society so that single women are empowered economically, politically and socio-culturally to live dignified lives enjoying values of human rights. WHR started mapping and profiling the situation of widows who are members of WHR single women groups. WHR identifies social mobilizers from the districts and trains them for the door-to-door campaign to collect the data of widows, starting at the grassroots village level. Then they are mobilized to collect information on widows. Widows are then organized into the single women groups in their respective districts. They are asked to fill in the form for the membership, which is then entered for analysis. On the basis of the information collected, WHR identifies the needs and then accordingly delivers services such as skill trainings, scholarships, trainings related to national and international human rights instruments, legal provisions, and adult literacy classes. With continuous lobbying by WHR, the government has changed a few discriminatory laws from country code against single women, and it has been able to put the issue of widows in directive principles and policies.
WHR has succeeded in changing the discriminatory laws and policies against single women, which are: the property of deceased husband which the wife inherits no longer needs to be returned to her husband's family after remarriage. Widows no longer require the consent of their adult sons and unmarried daughters to sell or hand over property ownership. Widows no longer need to reach the age of 35 to inherit the deceased husband's property. Widows do not have to remain in the chastity of their deceased husband to inherit property. Widows no longer need to reach the age of 60 to get the monthly allowance from the government. The government's policy to provide Rs 50,000 to men who marry widows is void. Widows no longer need to take the permission of the male family member to obtain a passport. The government has announced the practice of Vaikalyas as ill practice and that should not be continued. Single women were counted in the new census of Nepal in the year 2011. The government has developed the regulation of the emergency fund for widows. WHR works in 73 districts and 1,050 VDCs with over 84,000 single women members.
According to a survey conducted by WHR, situation of widows are as follows.
More than 40% of widows get married before the age of 20. Around 67% of them are under 20 to 35 years, having on average of 3 to 4 children. 29.5% of them are illiterate. 10% of widows have migrated and have been displaced due to conflict in their communities. Out of the registered members of WHR, 3,907 of them are conflict-affected single women.
WHR works at 3 levels: organizing widows at grassroots level, lobby and advocacy to mainstream widows' rights and to bring about legal and policy changes in favor of widows at national level, lobby and advocate at the South Asian level to highlight and mainstream widows' rights through South Asian Network for Widows Empowerment in Development, SANWID. WHR has tabled the Widows' Charter drafted by Margaret Owen of Widows for Peace through Democracy at the SARC Summit as a priority issue. Widows are the human resource of the nation, a huge but unutilized social capital of the country. Widowhood makes them neither incompetent nor weakens them, but gives them strength to be the agents of change in the society. Widows have proved themselves as peace cadres for peace building in the society, recognizing essence of United Nations Security Council resolution. In view of the unprecedented rise in the number of widows caused by many years of conflict, it is essential that the international community, governments, donors and other NGOs and INGOs focus attention on widows, recognize their strength and mention them in the development agenda.